Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Missed Mando, Ontario's source for the latest in the disc golf world. I'm your host, Robbie Holden, joined by my friend and co-host, Sean Galbraith. Shawnee G, no Galen here with us today, although he will make a little sneak peek later for our trivia segment. But for this part and the beginning and most of it, it's going to be a good show because we don't have Galen. It's just Shawnee and Robbie. That's what we got. Shawnee G, how are you? What have you been up to since our last show?
Doing well, Robbie. Haven't been up to much disc golf wise, but I was out at Beaches yesterday, giving a little test play of the Toronto Slush Mayhem layout in like 90-kilometer-an-hour winds, and it was absolute chaos. Firebirds were turning into rollers. It was so much fun. Made absolutely no sense. I was playing with Andrea Michaud, and she threw this shot with a DX Firebird that it might as well have been like a diamond or a mamba. Like it was nuts. And like, how did this just happen? It was so cool. I can't wait for that event. We're going to talk a little bit more about it a little bit later. But yeah, that's basically all I've been up to. What about you?
Yeah, I have been up to literally nothing, basically. This weather is not making me want to go outside and play rounds of disc golf. Last winter was bearable, at least. I can deal with the cold. I can bundle up extra and deal with the cold, but when there's snow on the ground and I'm going to be slipping out there and my wet discs and bad footing, all that combined, I just don't have the urge to play. But I have been watching a little bit of disc golf. This coverage of the Tour Down Under has been nice, and a little bit of a refresher through this winter glum that we have here in Ontario. I definitely wish that I was down in New Zealand right now. That would be much preferred. But the coverage has been great. Spoiler alert, Jeremy Colling taking down a win. One of his first, that was the third event that they've had down there.
Yep.
So he's now one win in 3 tournaments with MVP, which I'd say is a pretty good ratio. So, and there's a nice field down there too. There's some talented players on both sides of the field, MPO and FPO. So if you're looking to scratch that disc golf itch a bit, I highly recommend checking out those videos on YouTube.
You can check him out on the Go Throw Formula GK Pro YouTube channel. And of course, friend of the show, Sophia Dunica, has been doing so incredibly well down there. She has podiumed, I believe, all 3 events, 3 for 3. Yeah, it's been so good to follow along on PDJ Live, watching the scores come in and seeing how fantastic she's doing down there. Super, super cool. And just really great coverage. Strong recommend watching.
Absolutely. I think Sophia might have a first, a second, and a third in the 3 events down there right now. So she is playing fantastic. They do have FPO coverage for that as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So absolutely check that out as well. Like Sean said, on the Go Throw YouTube channel. And we move on now to a little bit of Ontario news that we've got. The Ontario Disc Golf Awards vote that I have been running through Disc Golf Ontario and having a community vote on it. The finalists have been announced, and as of when you're listening to this, voting will almost be closed. Voting is going to remain open until Friday, January 31st at 10 p.m. So if you haven't voted yet, go get in your vote while you still can. And the finalists for each of the awards for TD of the Year, Spencer Young, Daryl Bankus, and Chris O'Zolins. MPO Player of the Year, Chris O'Zolins again, Thomas Gilbert, and Cam Zanini. For FBO Player of the Year, we have Chantel Badinsky, or Badinksy, as the Prodigy social media team put out the other day. Chantel Badinsky, Rebecca Dawn, and Alicia Hums. And for the People's Champ Award, the finalists are Tobin Isaac, Chainlink Disc Golf, aka Jeff McKeegan and Kara Hovius, and Chris O'Zolins, again making another appearance as a finalist for one of the awards. So once again, voting will close Friday, January 31st at 10 p.m. So if you're listening to this and you haven't got your vote in, go get your vote in. If voting is already closed when you're listening to this, then go see who won the votes. I believe on Saturday is when I plan on posting the winners. And little sneak peek, I know Sean has seen the design. I'm actually getting some pretty sweet little trophy plaques made for the 4 winners of all of these awards. So this is definitely 100% legit from us here at Mr. Mando. Shawnee G, I know you got your vote in already, right?
Work that you have done on this thing, Robbie. Like, full kudos, full credit to you. Galen and I, as always, have done absolutely nothing for this. This is
you did some sweet graphics.
Yeah, I made a couple graphics. They're pretty, but the bulk and the back end work has been all you, Robbie. It's been absolutely incredible, the amount of work that you've done, and it's super cool. And I cannot wait to see how this shakes out in the end.
Well, I appreciate that, Shawnee G. It, like I've said, I've told you a few times, my brain is just melted from looking through so many PDGA player profiles, because the best way that I could figure to get all the stats that I wanted was to literally go individually through all of the players' PDGA player profiles, go into tournaments that they won, check out deeper stats. It was a fun process. I mean, I definitely learned a lot, and I'm very familiar with navigating the PDGA page now. That is for sure. For even finding out tournament directors of all the tournaments too. One of the cool stats that I included for TD of the year was total players that played each of their tournaments. Spencer Young almost hit 1,000 total players at his tournaments, which was crazy. He had the most. But finding out that stat was definitely a challenge going into each individual tournament and calculating it. But definitely worth it. And yeah, just stay tuned for the winners of the inaugural Ontario Disc Golf Awards, which I do plan on turning into a yearly thing, unless someone more official like the ODSA decides to do something like that on their own. But no, leave us alone here at Mr. Mando. We will continue this. But moving on now to some registrations. Let's throw it over to you, Shawnee G. What's going on in the registration realm for Ontario?
So just first, I want to mention the King's Forest Open. So that registration for that thing opened recently. What was it, like last week or the week before, something like that? And within 4 minutes of registration going live, there were more than 50 people on the waiting list. 4 minutes. Absolutely insane.
Wow.
There are currently, as of shortly before recording this, 92 people on the wait list. People, you're not getting into the tournament. Sorry, 93 people are not going to drop out of the KFO. This is not going to happen. Sorry. Just full credit to the everybody knows Oz puts on a fantastic tournament. You're going to get a really great players back, and you're playing a fantastic course out there at King's Forest. The rabid response to try and get into this thing is full credit to an excellent organization and its reputation. So new things coming up out at Wild Country. There is Dubs Gone Wild. I think it's the first doubles tournament to take place at Wild Country. Registration's open now, and that takes place on April 5th. The Stones Throw Open, this is their spring tournament. That opens on January 30th for some of the underserved divisions. And you can check out Disc Golf Scene to see which divisions those are. And general registration for that opens up on February 1st. Of course, we have the Toronto Slush coming up at Beaches, which I mentioned a couple minutes ago. It's going to be super fun. 27 hole, super fun various putters tournament. Crazy Mando layout. It should be super fun. Only $25 and raising money for the Daily Bread Food Bank. Again, details up on Disc Golf Scene. There's also, we mentioned on the last show, the Queer Disc Golf Spring Fling 2 out at Haute Goat. Registration is still open for that. New one popping up on February 1st is the Muskoka Open. That is a 2-day event on April 26th and 27th. That will be a fantastic tournament. That's, I believe, one of Spencer Young's events. The Black Fly Fling and the Black Fly Fling Legends, those tournaments are open. There's not a lot of space left for the Fling, and Legends I think has some spaces left. An interesting one from Mindy of the Dixie Chicks. She is hosting the Celebrating Women in Disc Golf event at Cartwright Fields in Nestleton, Ontario. That's east of Port Perry, south of Lake Scugog, that kind of area. It's absolutely free. Everyone is welcome. It's an 18-hole random doubles event. Again, it's free. And she noted to me that the park has heated washrooms that will be open, which, yeah, March 8th, that's important.
Heated bathrooms is clutch.
Absolutely clutch. We've got a couple CWE Canadian Women's events that registration is going to pop up in between now and our next episode. First is CWE Barrie at Sandy Hollow. That opens February 1st, and the event for that is May 28th. And the second one is CWE St. Catharines. That opens February 8th, and the event for that is May 24th. There's also the Abbey Gardens Open, which is combining with a CWE. Registration for that opens January 31st, and that event is May 31st. Abbey Gardens, one of the more beautiful courses in the province. That'll be a great event. Open now for registration is the USDGC doubles qualifier at Haute Goat. That takes place on June 14th. The Blueberry Brawl. Okay, Blueberry Brawl. This thing is going to be the next crazy registration sign up after Kings Forest Open. This is going to pop off. Set your calendars. January 30th, it is for Sudbury Disc Golf Club members only. February 1st is for all of the female divisions, plus MA60 and MA70. And February 3rd, the chaos begins, because that's when it opens to everybody else. This takes place July 19th and 20th. Check out Disc Golf Scene for the time. Set a calendar reminder and hit refresh, because it is going to sell out probably extremely quickly. And then lastly, the Canadian Championships. Those open on February 2nd for Canadians only. And then we get a 1 week head start on registration. February 9th, it opens up to the rest of the world. And I think they're going to be coming because, again, takes place right between DGLO and GMC. We're on the road in between them. And I think we're going to get, a pretty healthy American contingent coming up. I'm going in, Instagram, and when I see people posting their tour schedules, I'm like dropping in the comments, hey, maybe you want to play the Canadian Championships. It's right in between the two, and just, stop on in. I noticed when Paige Pierce dropped her calendar, it's already in there, I guess, because, she wasn't able to play it last year. It'll be so amazing to have her back up here and actually playing this time. Super looking forward to that. Super looking forward to all of the amazing tournaments that we're going to have coming this year. And I hope you've made room on your credit card from Christmas, because registrations are opening and we got to start filling it up again. So anyway, yeah, it's going to be good. Can't wait for the next one.
Registration season is here in full swing for sure. I think there are like 4 tournaments registration I'm planning on signing up for in the next like 2 weeks, which is just gonna hurt the wallet a little bit. So and some tournaments I'm already signed up for. I think I'm already signed up for 3 tournaments for next season.
5.
So 5 already. Jeez Louise.
5 tournaments.
Yeah. Before we know it, we'll be back on the course playing these tournaments, which right now get me there ASAP because it's currently snowing even more outside where I am here in Cambridge on Tuesday evening. So I'm ready to escape this and play some disc golf tournaments again. Even in the middle of July when I'm sweating buckets at the Blueberry Brawl in Sudbury. Because that course, for those that haven't played it, is an absolute grind. But I will take that over this winter snap that we're in. But yes, lots of exciting stuff coming up with tournaments in Ontario. Keep an eye out for those registrations on Disc Golf Scene. As we've mentioned before, if there's a tournament that you plan on signing up for, click that follow button and you'll get email notifications about 24 hours within registration and stuff like that. Moving on now to some general disc golf news. We've got some announcements and some more signings. The DGPT announced their plan for the All-Star event. It's going to take place Thursday, February 27th at Olympus Disc Golf Course. That's on the day before the first event of the season, the Supreme Flight Open, which last year was the Chess.com Open. It's going to be 1 round of doubles, 9 holes best shot, 9 holes of alternate shot, and it's going to be done, I believe it'll be 12 teams. Draft will be done beforehand and then announced before the event. I don't think it's going to be a live draft in any sort of way. That would be cool. I would definitely tune into that on DGN. But I don't think they're going to do that. It'll just be announced. But the top 6 in FPO will draft a partner from the bottom 6 of MPO, and the top 6 of MPO will draft a partner from the bottom 6 of FPO, based on the DGPT world standings. That's how those rankings will go. And they also announced that going forward and effective immediately, the All-Star event will take place after the DGPT championship at the end of the season. So 2025, this calendar year, we'll have 2 All-Star events, the one coming up celebrating the 2024 season, and then at the end of the year, after the Pro Tour Championship, will be an all-star event celebrating the 2025 season. Not sure if they'll do the exact same format again, doubles or whatnot. More announcements, they said, will come on that. So we will have to wait and see. Shawnee G, any thoughts from you on that?
I had a great time at All-Stars last year. It was super fun down at Olympus. I really liked the skills competition, which is not going to be part of this opening event, maybe because, let people get warmed up in the season a little bit instead of just like, hey, welcome, throw as hard as you can. So it's probably a good thing. I hope they haven't said if they're going to bring back the skills competition for the post-season All-Star event. I hope they do.
Me too.
It was super fun last year, and I want to see the FPO distance competition. I want to see it a lot. Get Elizra and get Taylor Chosek and like all these and Sophia and
I was about to say Sophia Dunica.
Yep, and Ella, and let's. I want to see this. I want to see them all go head to head. It'd be super, super fun.
Nothing brings the fans out like a distance competition. It's always what people are talking about the most. I feel like past year at All-Star Weekend, there was, of course, the putting competition, and then was it like an accuracy challenge where you're trying to hit certain Mandos and gaps and get as close to the basket? Those were fun events to watch as well, but there's nothing like watching those top athletes out there just ripping absolute missiles and trying to get it out. Like that one that AB threw that ended up going like 715 or something like that. and year Terry's like, oh, it's gonna burn out, and then it's like, oh no, it's actually it's getting stable again. It's coming back and it's going crazy. You see it go past the 700 marker, and you're like, what in the world? It's just it's mind boggling. And you were there to watch it live.
Incredible to watch live.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that. I would love to. I mean, I've had the fortune of playing a round with Thomas Gilbert, who is one of the farthest throwers on the planet. But I didn't see him unleashing in like a long shot drive contest form. He was throwing golf shots still. They were absolute bombs, but they were still golf shots. So to see him just, whip out the 360s, or if you're Albert Tom, you just do it like the most nonchalant way ever. Always incredible to watch. So hopefully they do bring that back for the end of the year event. Moving on to some signing news. I'll just run through a couple of these rapid fire, and then Shawnee G, you can touch on any that you want to. Silva Saarinen signs a 4-year extension with MVP. Love to see the multi-year there.
That was
Gavin Rath.
That was the longest re-signing, the longest signing of this contract season. Tied with Big Germ. Yeah. Good for her.
For MVP. Love to see it. And great signing for MVP there as well, because we've seen just how talented Silva is this past year with how many wins that she got, and even when she wasn't winning, just continually in the top 10 and getting podiums and stuff. Gavin Rathbun signs with Prodigy Discs. That's a great signing there. Ella Hansen signs a 2-year extension with Discmania. Rebecca Cox re-signs with Latitude 64. 2024 DGPT MPO Rookie of the Year Jesse Nieminen re-signs for 3 years with Castoplast. And big news, hot off the presses today as we're recording, Ricky Wysocki and Kona Panis are both leaving Dynamic Discs. Shawnee G, where do you want to start from those sets of signings?
Well, first, Rebecca Cox might be the biggest no-brainer re-signing of the year. Yeah. Absolutely incredible year this year. Expecting really big things from her in 2025. Latitude would have been insane to let her go. Ricky and Kona, I mean, the rumors have been swirling around like crazy for a while now. Mm-hmm. When the downturn in the disc golf manufacturing market has really hit Dynamic pretty hard. It's particularly Dynamic. And it is absolutely no surprise that they can't carry $1 million a year for him. And I don't know what Kona's was. I think it was like 400,000. Like she had a really big contract as well. Like just that's a lot of money. And when you're already hurting, like to float that much contract is a lot. And so the company came out and said, basically, we tried to renegotiate, or we had some discussions, or whatever they said. And then ultimately it was a mutual parting. I'm not sure how mutual it is in reality, but it'll be interesting to see where they both land. I've seen the word on the street from a few people saying that Kona going back to Innova, that would make sense. They didn't part on bad terms. Her dad Jeff is still there and working there. Mm-hmm. Innova feels like such a great fit for her. It's like coming home.
I agree.
Ricky, I don't know where he goes. I mean, does he go to Latitude with Isaac? That would be pretty cool.
The Latitude?
Yeah.
That's who he was with when he won his 2 world titles.
Yeah. I mean, it would be, I don't know how the House of Disc thing works. If moving the contract over to Latitude actually fixes the problem. I don't know how their financials between the 5 divisions are sort of split up. It's all the same.
I don't think it really makes sense for Latitude now after bringing in Isaac. I think they want Isaac to be the MPO face. and bringing in Ricky would just get lost in the shuffle. Yeah, diluted.
I would agree with that. But it's like, where's he going? Is he going Franklin? Is he going XFO from Timo? Where's he going? Some like, I don't see him going to Innova. I feel like
the one that I have heard the most in comments that I've seen and in like different discords that I'm in is going to Discraft, which makes absolutely no sense in my brain.
no. Other than they have money.
Yeah. Oh, they've got money to spend, but Paul and Ricky being on the same team just it does not compute in my brain. My brain doesn't allow it.
Maybe he's going to be the first big Stokely discs and Climo discs co-brand, kind of like the TSA Infinite thing. Who knows?
Could MVP have enough money to go after?
He got a lot.
I mean, I don't think that either Big Germ or Silva Saarinen would have been signed to crazy money contracts. Simon obviously got the bag.
Sure, of course.
Eagle probably got a decent contract, not nearly as much as Simon.
No, of course.
And
James Polyrad's got a bag. Lily has a bag.
I don't know what James is.
You figure he did pretty well considering he built the company on one throw.
That, and he's probably in royalties off of NBs and now the Trail. Huge. Yeah, he's got to be doing well. So, and MVP seems to be a company that continues to be able to sell lots and lots of discs. So, do they have the money to be able to bring in someone like Ricky? Also, could I really see Ricky with MVP? That also just doesn't really feel right.
It doesn't feel right, does it?
No.
Well, there's not that many other companies out there.
It really isn't.
Like,
so
that's all the big ones. Because
does he go back to Prodigy?
Back to Prodigy. That would be unexpected.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, that
would be very unexpected. I could
pretty certain Prodigy cannot afford a Ricky.
No. Prodigy's made some good signings this offseason, though. I love them picking up Gavin Rathbun, as I mentioned.
So, some good value signings.
Yep.
Like that.
Jake Hebenheimer.
Yep. Absolutely.
And it's still got Manabu Kajiyama.
Sure. Absolutely.
The highest rated player in the world. Well, he was at one point. Was technically the highest rated player in the world. The ratings inflation when you're only destroying fields in Japan, but still.
Anyway, you won't hear it here first, but you will hear it here on Miss Mando when we figure out where Ricky lands. It's a really interesting time in the pro scene, and this is definitely the biggest news I think of the off season.
Right. I totally agree. It's nice to see it finally become official because it was speculation for what feels like a month now. Like all since the new year, that's been so speculated. People screenshotting so many of different Ricky posts and being like, does this mean Ricky's leaving DD? Seeing that all over social media and stuff. So it's good to have it actually official. And yes, as of recording right now, no news on where they were going, but maybe like the last episode, we'll have Miss Mando correspondent Sean pop in out of nowhere to break some news. If it happens, we'll leave it right here. And if not, you just got a weird, awkward break for no reason. So there's that too.
One more announcement. The ThoughtSpace Discraft announcement was made official this past week. There were hints and very obvious teasers that ThoughtSpace and Discraft were getting together on a partnership to start making some additional discs, and that has finally been revealed, and the disc has finally been released. They are calling They're calling the plastic, I believe, parallel plastic.
Yep, I think so.
And the disc, what do they call the disc?
I'm honestly forgetting right now in my head.
High quality production here on Miss Mando. Didn't even remember to
Right.
look up the name of the disc. Anyway, they
Jeez.
released it at the at Disc East, the Disc Golf Expo out in Massachusetts last weekend. Sold an ungodly number of frisbees. The parallel plastic seems to be Swirl ESP. I generally do not like ESP plastic as a rule. Not my favorite by any stretch. But the disc it looks pretty cool. As always, of course, is
The Expanse.
The Expanse, that's it. Got the Spaceman, the Moon Man back on the disc.
Yep.
It looks like kind of
11.5 minus 2 flight numbers.
Yeah, kind of looks like a drive, maybe something similar to that. I'm curious to see how those two compare.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, looks like a pretty cool disc.
This seems like something that's going to go right into my bag.
I'm excited to throw it in different plastic.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this parallel plastic too, and what it is. If it's just ESB plastic or is it something else?
Yeah, that's real. I mean, the other plastic would be like, Z plastic, which I like. I like Z plastic, so I could take an Expanse in Z.
This craft is one of the brands that I am least familiar with, in terms of especially their plastics, but even in discs like the whole Paul Macbeth line. I'm not even really familiar with what any of the speeds of those discs are. I could name them, but what they do and their speed and whatnot, I don't know. Other than a Luna, because I putted with a Luna for a while, but everybody knows the Luna is just a putter. So, but anyways, Shawnee G, any more news that we want to talk about here? Or should we throw it over?
So I don't think so. I think that's good enough for now.
I don't think so either. I think we covered all of our bases, which means we are now going to throw it over to our feature interview for today's show. Sean mentioned it. Canadian Nationals registration is going to be opening very soon, and we are excited to bring in two of the course owners and tournament directors from the tournament. Gabe Robinson back for a second time on the show, and for the first time, Dan Bainard. We'll be right back. Our next guests are two of the course owners and tournament directors for the 2025 Canadian National Championship, which opens for registration on February 2nd. It's a pleasure to welcome for the first time to Miss Mando, owner of Cedar Creek Disc Golf, Dan Bainard, and back for a second time on the podcast, owner of Project 15, Gabe Robinson. Gabe and Dan, thank you so much for joining us, fellas.
Nice to be here.
Happy to have you guys on. And let's start with Nationals and go back to the beginning of the process. When was the idea of using your guys' courses for the event first brought up to you? And what were your initial thoughts on hosting? Dan, I guess as the first time guest on the pod, I'll go to you first.
I feel like Gabe has a lot more to say in this. I kind of came in maybe a few weeks after they had kind of come up with the idea. It definitely came from Daryl, who had hosted many tournaments in the past, but he came forward with the idea of, hey, there's no host for Nationals right now. I think we have some of the best courses around. Wondering if you guys would be interested. And absolutely, I'd be interested, but had no idea what was involved in all of it. I think I'll pass it on to Gabe though, because he definitely was more involved in those conversations. I was probably just out on my course, trimming branches and cutting grass.
Well, my memory of it, and it was a bit blurry just because it was a bit sort of last minute and a little bit remote in the sense that I get a message here and a message there. But my memory of it, and I have certainly a spotty memory sometimes, was Daryl asked somewhere in the midsummer if I would be open to this idea in a different context. And that was the potential of maybe trying to see if there's something we could do with one of the world's tournaments. And the pitch was the same. It was like, we have great courses here. There's a lot of reason to want to move people to this side of Toronto to play these events and experience all the wonderful other things that are happening around this neighborhood, specifically tourism and hospitality stuff. So that pitch came prior to this Canadian Nationals bid idea. And I just said, yeah, it sounds fun, man. Like, let me know. I don't have experience working on that scale. I did host a national satellite tournament with Jeff and Kara of Chainlink in 21, I think it was. I may have that wrong. I think you might have been there, Robbie. Am I right about that?
I wasn't there for that one, no.
No, okay. I have that wrong. My mistake. So anyway, Daryl came to me and he said, this is all really last minute. I think that the people at CanDisc or whatever these governing groups are in a little bit of a state of emergency here. They don't have someone to host nationals in a year from now. And I kind of went, well, that's insane. Like, we're not going to do a real tournament in a year. We can't get that ready. And so time went by, the rip happened. And the next thing I know, I heard it had been announced that we were in fact hosting nationals. I'm being a little playful now, but I hadn't agreed yet. And it's okay, because sometimes you just have to push ahead. And that's been the flavor so far for this whole thing, is for this stuff to happen, somebody's got to stick their neck out. And that was Daryl in this case. And Daryl came to me long before I ever thought about the process of actually presenting my course or tournaments to the Canadian disc golf playing public, or let alone the Ontario disc golf playing public. And he said, look, I want this to be good for the tournament directors. I want this to be good for the courses. Here's the deal. And he made me an offer about how much money I'd make per player or for the sake of hosting the tournament. And again, my deal with Daryl, I replied and said, if those are the numbers you're offering, I think we can do it. I was a little nervous about it. I was nervous that the money would actually come through. I was nervous that we didn't have the time to put together a great tournament. I was nervous that this just wasn't happening the way that you wanted to happen. But at the same time, this was Daryl trying to make it work for everybody, including the good people of Ontario who like to play disc golf, and the good people of Canada. So credit to him. It was his idea. He came to me, he came to Dan, he came to the people from Newcastle. And I think we all went, this could be really cool. It's a little scary. It's a little bit rushed. The rip happened. Everybody was tired after that. It's a busy time of year for everybody. The people from Newcastle are, I think, teachers, and they're swamped in the fall. So anyway, fast forward to today, we've put in a ton of work already and barely moved the needle with respect to how far we've got with organizing the tournament. But it came to me in this kind of rushed, slightly disorganized, necessarily so, because nobody knew how to get this going. So again, credit to Daryl for pulling it together and sticking his neck out. He made a deal with us. We agreed to do this deal with Daryl, who is, even though we are a united front here, we are working together to make this as good as it can be. It's really Daryl's tournament. It's really his project. We're happy to be involved. We're happy to represent Ontario. We're happy to represent you disc golf players and lovers of the game. And we're happy to support Daryl as peers and as supporters and so forth. So I'll stop it there, but the next steps are trying to make this as good as we can. It's kind of exciting.
It absolutely is exciting. And so the courses are Haute Goat, Newcastle, Project 15, and Cedar Creek. Absolutely some of the best courses in Ontario and in Canada. Go to both of you on this one. You mentioned that, just sort of scratching the surface on what to do. What kind of course improvements? What are you looking to do between now and nationals to the courses to really sort of put them up in they're in their best shape?
I would say this is just something we're doing regardless. I know Gabe's kind of the same way as us. And just so we're clear on my course, I'm not actually the course owner. It's my sister's property. She purchased it maybe about 5 years ago. And I saw the overhead view. It's 70 acres in Bowmanville. and I saw the overhead view, and I saw fairways already established. In this course, I was like, listen, we're going to create a course on this. I don't know what you're thinking about it. Part of the land, maybe about 15 acres out of the 70 acres is farmed. And we've been able to kind of move the farming around a little bit. And we have plans for actually going back to a Christmas tree farm. So kind of Maple Hill vibes there.
Yeah. We had Steve Dodge on last week.
Oh, cool. So we, the property used to be a Christmas tree farm. And I know that Prestonvale, which is not too far away, is potentially being sold for housing developments. There won't be Christmas tree farms available. So we're getting the soil tested this year to see if it'll work. I have a history of planting trees in BC, which is also where I learned to play disc golf in the early 2000s. Yeah, so we're looking at in even some of the fairways going to planting Christmas trees in between the fairways. But as far as the tournament coming up for nationals, you're going to see a lot of signage. You're going to see ideally a course and a layout that looks like a disc golf pro tour layout. And I've been to Las Vegas Challenge when it was actually a disc golf pro tour. I was there twice. I don't know if you know my son. He tried disc golf for about a year, and then all of a sudden he was the furthest thrower in the world at Las Vegas Challenge. He can pros. Yeah, he can definitely bomb. I think I'm gonna have him back playing again for nationals. So pretty excited
because he's one of my favorite card baits that I've had. So I've missed McKinley out there. I want him back.
Oh, cool. Yeah, him and I were out at Scarlet Woods today, playing again. So got him back out on the field. But yeah, so signage around holes, very, very, very clear OB. So there's no question. As far as taking care of, on our course anyways, as far as taking care of all the scrub around the outside of the holes so we don't have lost discs, making sure that is just perfect. We have a really nice mower. So if you haven't been out to our course, last couple of years, we've gotten the grass to a pretty good condition. We can get it down nice and low. So my brother-in-law purchased, it's about a $20,000 mower. Yeah, it's really nice, zero turn. And he didn't even play disc golf when we bought the property. But he now plays almost every day. And by getting that course there, yes, he totally is. And he actually runs the league now, on his own property, which is cool. So every Saturday, run the league there. But yeah, my sister and my brother-in-law are both very invested in it. We're all artists. We like beautiful property, landscaping. Yeah. We've also added in the last year, we went originally from one tee pad, and the original design was for a pro level course. And then we figured afterward we would add in extra tee pads to make it shorter, because it's always easier to make a hole shorter than it is to make it longer. I know I played Project 15 as well. It is also designed in that kind of pro caliber type of layout. It's much easier to add in the extra tee pads. So in the last year anyways, we've added in 3 extra layouts. So we have red, white, blue, and gold tee pads there. So what that will allow us at nationals as well is to take any division. So we can do on our reds, we can take juniors, we can take, MA6 if there's such a thing. Those who are just getting started. All the way up.
I'll take MA6.
Yeah, all the way up to pro level. So, yeah, we'll continue to make those tee pads larger. So some of them are pretty good, but we're going to continue to make them larger. So it's a really nice, safe area to throw off of. Yeah, make the landscaping look great, perfect OBs, and just have a pro tour type experience. Gotcha.
Guess it's my turn. One of the nice things that's coming with this proposal, this project, is that we'll get a little bit of money through the debate about pass-through fees. We can talk about that at any stage that you'd like, if you wish. One of the things that money goes towards are these kinds of upgrades. So that actually makes you a player, sort of implicated in the ongoing improvement of these courses. And if you're local, you get to enjoy that forever, even though you don't exactly own it. You've just made a contribution. And that's the format at my place anyway already. You don't pay to be there. You make a donation and all the money stays in the course. Nobody gets paid. We just keep building this thing better and better. With respect to this tournament, I'm excited to do some upgrades. Like Dan, it's easy to say this is stuff I'd like to do anyway. One of the big things is I'd like to complete 2 permanent sort of porta potties or like outhouses on the course. One sort of in the middle that you'd meet somewhere at the 1/3 and 2/3 marks, and one near the actual jump off point at hole 1. I expect to have a proper warm up area with some nets to throw into, and a whole bunch of other stuff that's kind of fun and exciting from a disc golf course geek's point of view. Stuff that I think some of you guys, if you're paying a lot of attention, will notice. Some stuff that people won't notice, because a lot of the improvements one does to one's course, you just go, oh, that's how it should have been, and you never think about it again because it's just right. Kind of like painting a wall. If you do a good job, nobody sees it. It's just right. If you screw up stuff and there's rough edges or bad parts, it's the first thing anybody sees, and they'll tell you missed a spot. So yeah, there's some stuff that we have to accommodate for the sake of it being legitimately an A tier, and I'm glad to do that. Signage is one thing. Washroom, you're obliged to have at least one washroom, and I'd like to have 2 permanent ones. We'll probably also have to pay to have an additional 1, if not 2, just for the sake of the number of people rolling through over the course of that whole week. And there's some other fun stuff, again, without getting into the little details about the things that I get really excited about on my course, just to say this is gonna work for a lot of people. And I'm also really pumped because from the very start, when I designed this course, and I don't want to forget the fact that I did have some help all the way through, but my division has always been a course that you play from hole 1 to hole 18. The term in disc golf is flex start. And there's a kind of a rhythm and a story and a process that I've always had in mind for the sake of how that flows, what happens on the last 6 holes, the last 3 holes in competition, what can you come back from a 2-shot deficit, how exciting, how dramatic is the last couple of holes going to be in tournaments. I'm just really pleased that we're actually going to be playing in that format. Flex start, send people out starting at whatever time in the morning, finishing in the afternoon, and playing the course as it was designed to be, plus some of these upgrades. I'm going to get some new picnic tables. I'm hoping to have some extra stuff like some snacks and concessions and so forth at the turn halfway through the course. So anyway, there's a bunch of stuff, and getting a little bit more money coming directly to me from all this means that I can make this as good as possible for the people who get to play it, not just in September, but forevermore.
Some of the challenges I know at Project 15, and Dan, I apologize, I haven't been out to your course yet, but Thomas Gilbert says it is one of the best courses in Canada. And so obviously I have to play it. I cannot wait. And thank you for adding reds. But one of the challenges I know at Project 15 is parking and sensitive neighbors to noise. With nationals, a big tournament coming, are there any plans is there any even ability to sort of fix up the parking, and how will you deal with the neighbors at all? And Dan, I'm not sure how parking is at Cedar Creek, but similar question to you.
Well, I don't think you've been back to the course, Sean, since maybe September.
In a couple of years.
A couple of years. So
no, longer than that.
I've reworked hole 1, which cut a little chunk of the original parking lot off. So I've also expanded the old first leg of hole 1, which is about a 200-foot stretch. You might remember that. That is now, some of that is now parking. And we've gotten pretty good about overflow parking going into my side. I call it my side where my house is. You can drive past the house and there's another easily 40 more spots down there. So I'm not really concerned about parking this time around. And I'm planning to reconnect with the municipality and try to make sure that they're aware and hopefully backing us and on board and so forth, so that if it comes to it, I can do something like just get people parking on the road, which is what we did in the very, very first tournament ever when the parking lot was even smaller. So of all the things that are problematic logistically, I think parking isn't going to be a big problem, thankfully. With respect to the neighbors, that's an ongoing thing. A big piece of this sensitivity to neighbors' noise is actually preemptive rather than reactive. There are some funny stories with me and my neighbor and some goofy accusations stuff. And I would be happy to tell you the stories because they're entertaining. But mostly I'm trying to keep a low profile. And in my opinion, for the sake of this tournament, if we just continue to be a little bit cautious on hole 1 and 2 and the beginning of 3 and maybe 18, and otherwise we can just relax and have fun and do the tournament for 2 or 3 bloody days a year. Let's relax. That said, we want this to be a festival, fun, easygoing. Lots of people aren't used to having to pay a bit of attention to noise, but also let's be respectful of other golfers because there's a bunch of people who are going to be here taking this very, very seriously. And that's just an etiquette element that sort of fits with this concern we have about the neighbor stuff. So day in, day out, I am one of the neighbors. I don't want to hear these hooligans making too much noise either, even when I'm the hooligan. But really, we're just trying to keep things smooth with the neighbors. For these days, I'm a whole lot less worried about it. Maybe not screaming and cursing a whole lot, but that's really about being respectful to other golfers more than it is about keeping a low profile with the neighbors. Because again, they can handle 2 days. I can handle 2 days or 3 days, pardon me. So not too worried about it, Sean.
On our side, not worried about noise. We can be as loud as we want. There's not neighbors very close. We're very close to the 407, so that's probably the only noise you'll hear outside of the people.
Not a sensitive use.
Yeah. And then parking, we designed it right off the start with ample parking. So the way we would normally have it set up, we can handle about 100 cars in that area, which is enough to satisfy the tournament. And then the course itself, we're only on about a third of the property. So we actually, Robbie, I think you've been to our course, right?
I unfortunately have not. It is a sad omission that I must make. I know it's terrible.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, you guys need to come out and I'll give you a personal tour out there. But anyone who has been there, we actually have another field that's as large as our largest field that's actually unused. It's not even farmed, has trees on it. So there is potential to actually have a full second 18-hole course in the future if we wanted to. But right now, really happy with just one course. So space, noise, I don't see that as an issue. My sister and brother-in-law also just recently purchased 2 20 by 40 foot tents. Their daughter's getting married this summer, and so my sister just decided to purchase instead of rent. So we'll have those available as well for covering at the start. So that's a little over 2,000, or it's around 2,000 square feet of coverage we'll have there as well that we can set up. And yeah.
I can't wait to finally make it out to the course. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and I'm going to call a little audible here in our questions that we have written down, because I want to talk a little bit about Cedar Creek. We talked a lot with Gabe last time he was on about the Ontario course vote that I ran in the summer, but haven't been able to talk to you, Dan, yet about Cedar Creek, of course, in the vote. The course finished 23rd in the overall rankings, but more significantly, it was ranked number 2 in points per vote, and really just suffered from not enough people being out to play it yet, which is, of course, going to change with hosting a big tournament like Nationals. But number 2 in the province in points per vote, just showing the people that have played it how much they truly love it. And like Sean said, comments from Thomas Gilbert about how fantastic it is has been notable. So I'm just kind of curious what your reaction is to not only the course vote, but also the adamant comments from players that this is definitely a top tier course in the province and maybe even the country.
I love it. And I would say the approach we took in even designing it. So first off, I love Project 15. And I played that course and I heard so many great things about it before we even got this started. So that was already like something to look at. But the course itself was based on experiences at a number of courses. I lived in BC for 15 years as well. I know Raptors Knoll. I was there last weekend actually playing and promoting this tournament as well. I was out there for another reason, but made sure that I had lots of high-level players come out in the early stages and help design the holes. Just we started out with just kind of 3 or 4 at the beginning, and we test them and say, "What do you think?" And then I happen to have a bomber in my family, so as far as doing long holes, I could test it out with him to see kind of how it worked. Yeah, it was really interesting. At the beginning, I would say it was really backhand distance heavy, and maybe kind of hyzer heavy, but we started to adapt. And so now in order to play the course, well, one, there's no filler holes. And I've had a lot of those comments too. Every hole has a purpose. And again, I would say the same thing about Project 15 as well. I love the fact that Gabe has that story. So I'm really just trying to copycat what really works well in the province or in the sport in general. But you need to be able to play golds. You have to be able to throw 400 plus. No problem.
Oh boy.
To play reds, you can throw 150 and you'll do fine. Okay.
There we go, Sean. There we go.
Yeah. There's actually, I think, about a 3,000 to 4,000 foot difference between reds and golds. Yeah. So you get more of a hike on reds. You get to walk around a little bit more, but you don't have to throw your arm out. So you need to be able to throw 400 plus in order to do well on golds. You have to have a controlled forehand and backhand. You have to have a controlled forehand and backhand upshot. You need to be able to throw low ceilings. You have to be able to throw skip shots, tight tunnel shots. There's some really open ones, but with some tight OB. So lots of airspace, but then you need to be able to have that just land in the right spot. We do have some water. So we have water on about 4 different holes. It's use of the 2 creeks that run through the property. But in place of where you might have a big pond or lake, we've just on the fields used OB to do that, but also make it so that you will not lose your disc. It's not like you're walking through 2 to 3 foot tall grass. We cut the grass right down to about 6 inches high in the OB area, so that's easy to find those. There's some natural Mandos, and then a couple risk reward holes. And then also lots of par 4s, but we have, your kind of standard par 4s. And then we also have some reverse par 4s as well, where you start with a controlled kind of upshot to put it into a location where then your second shot is your drive, and other ones where you're throwing a long drive and then you've got to have a controlled upshot, in there. So yeah, so I would say it's just a giant group project. Had lots of people play it, and it's a really even mix of wooded holes and open. I'd say it's about 9 and 9 both. Yeah,
like I said, from what I've heard so far from people that I really trust about their sort of judgment of courses as well, people that I know will give actual honest opinions about courses, I have heard nothing but good things about both of your courses. We know Project 15, of course, finished number 1 in the course vote in the summer. And Dan, I said in a bunch of comments on Facebook that I think Cedar Creek, as more people start to play it, it will certainly rise up in the rankings. And if you take just the points per vote, this tournament, Canadian Nationals, is going to have 4 of the top 10 courses in the province for one event, which I think is extremely incredible. So now I definitely will not be waiting all the way to Nationals to come out to Cedar Creek. I promise, Dan, I will make it out.
Or something right here. I don't think Gabe.
I mean, this would be an incredible. This would be an incredible group.
There you go.
We would have to make Sean play from the longs too, just for the hilarity of it.
You have a pink layout.
Only players
Shorter than Reds.
We could make that happen. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. I think maybe some doubles would be really fun.
Let's do it.
Could even do some best shot.
I'd be all over that.
The one other thing I might add too about this tournament, I don't know if it's in your question or if you've thought about it, but when you go to tournaments like that, you have one group usually that's kind of preparing all the courses. This one's kind of interesting because we have a tournament director in Daryl. And then the other tournament directors are all like, they essentially own their course. And so all the effort that I'm going to be putting in is just into Cedar Creek. Gabe will be putting into Project 15. Daryl will be putting into Hope Goat. Chris and Kevin and Tanya will be putting into Newcastle. We do meet very regularly just because we love it. And we all are very motivated to put on a really good show for everyone in the community. But yeah, each course you go to, there's going to be no filler courses. There's going to be no filler holes. It should be every time you throw the disc, it should be a great experience.
So right now, some of the details about the tournament are a little thin, like which divisions are going to be playing which courses, things like that. Do you know if there are any additional details or any decisions, even not like, MA4 is going to be playing this course and MA6 is going to be playing this course, but like general, like the MPO, the pros and the FPO are going to be playing this course and this course, or are any of those things been sort of roughed in at this point?
I would say roughed in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To my knowledge, it's barely roughed in. And this is a hard thing, I think, for a lot of people to stomach, especially when they're looking at the cost and so forth. They don't know what they're buying, and I'm absolutely sympathetic to that. Again, this is a product of this all happening a little bit last minute. We're, of course, trying to get ahead of it, trying to catch up, but a year is not a lot of time to put all this stuff together, especially when you think about the ridiculous amount of money that we've got to raise to make this go. It's easy to go, I am entitled to a certain amount of added cash so that I can have fun playing my hobby, but somebody has to go find that money. And so far Daryl's been very good at that. And, I'm sure a lot of people who really understand the game, are quite appreciative of all that extra work, that added cash, those sponsorships, the extra money that goes to the extra, activities and so forth. But to your question, sadly, we don't have a really good view of that now. And one of the reasons I understand that Daryl was eager to put the open registration so early, seemed early to me, is that so we can start to hammer out some of those truths. We can get a better look at what the division interest is and so forth. Yes, it's going to be open for a long time and it will fill up over time, but it'll give us at least an idea of how to start to allocate division by course. I know that this is not a matter of what course is better or worse than other courses, but some of these 4 courses
No, definitely not.
better suited for F60, and some are better for MPO. So I think, even if you just looked at the lengths of the courses, you get a sense of that. One of the things that's certainly going to happen is we're all going to use and develop and improve our layouts, so that there are a lot of different ways to accommodate a lot of different, I'll use some bullshit biz speak, but like our clients, in a sense, you run tournaments, you basically subsidize disc golf at your own place for Project 15 Open or whatever, and your friends come and they play disc golf, and you're quite happy to not make any money because you love these people. This is a slightly different process. And it does, even though it sounds kind of cheesy, these are clients in a way when you're putting on your TD hat. We've got to make sure that the layouts they play work for their abilities. And there's a thing from ball golf, it's called ability to overcome distance. That's one of the ways you have to think about this stuff. The other is we've got to toe this line, and this is a really hard thing to figure out, in my opinion. How much do people want to get a wonderful tour of all the great courses that we have to offer? And how much do people want to really get a chance to focus on one or two courses in order to have the best chance to win? That may change by division. You might say that people who are in the AM3 or AM6 level, as the joke went earlier, are more interested in a tourist approach to this tournament. If you spoke to the pros, especially the men who really are here to win money that Daryl is raising to give them extra money so they'll come, and the same is true in all the divisions where there's cash, those people might say, if it's actually about money, I really just want to play one course. Are they going to get what they want?
The most.
Or two at the most, precisely. Are they going to get what they want? Surely we will make everybody mad a little bit, and surely we will make everybody happy for the most part. When we're sitting around without a lot to do about disc golf these days, it's easy to sort of trip over some of the complaints we've encountered online. Of course, we understand how people are bugged that they don't know yet what we're talking about. You don't know what division's playing what courses. If you're from Ontario, some people have really bloody strong opinions about certain courses and what belongs to what division and so on. And they're right. These are valid concerns. Thankfully, some of that information has dribbled up to us in our, remove from it all ivory tower, or wherever you imagine us rich people who just rake in all this cash running tournaments. Wherever we live, I'm joking, of course, because we're all out about $250,000 running these courses. But anyway, the idea is just that we don't know yet, and I know that's frustrating. MPO is definitely going to finish on Haute Goat. We're pretty confident that that's how it's going to happen on the last day. MPO is almost certainly going to be on my course. Very good chance they'll be on Dan's course, unless we decide somehow that the pros are going to hate having to play 3 separate courses. And I don't know what the answer is to all that. I would say put them on each course. Give people lots of chances to play different courses, and give them lots of chances to rotate through the courses in the warm-ups the days prior. The divisions that are less skilled and throw less far will certainly get a taste of Newcastle. They're going to probably get to play some of the shorter layouts on some of the other courses as well. Juniors might even end up on my course. I don't know. The thing again that I'll even apologize if it helps anybody. We don't know yet. There's a lot of stuff about how this tournament is going to work that literally directly hinges on how many people in each division sign up. And I wish it wasn't the case. I wish we could really tell you now what's going on, but we've done a huge amount of work just to get to here. And I know that's not very far as it stands. So our next little while is about trying to, find as much money as we can so that we can give it back to you guys to make the experience really fun and make the purses really fat and make the players packs really awesome. And make the experience really great. But we've got to go drum up money to do that. And so far, all we've done is sort of glued together a conglomerate of 4 courses and 4 owners who are willing to do the work to get it to go. And again, last time I'll restate it. I'm sorry we can't tell you more yet. We're still in the process of sorting that out. And a lot of it, again, unfortunately depends on who wants to come and play and who's willing to sign up in advance.
So what about off-course things, either at either of your courses individually or the other 2 courses that are involved hosting? Anything that is, might not even say set in stone, but things that might be getting planned, other activities, skills contests, vendors, food, that sort of thing. Anything that you guys can share on that front?
At our course, not exactly what you're saying, but we are planning for camping. I know
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah, I've been to Eddyville provincials in the past and love the vibe there, where everyone who wants to come out, they don't want to pay for a hotel, can camp. So we do have space for that. I'm just working through the details of that with my brother-in-law. right now as far as where we'll put people, but we do plan to have that available at a very low cost in order to just cover things like washrooms and amenities. Is one thing. I know we have started to think about some of the activities we'll have. Daryl wants to run that crokinole tournament.
Yeah.
That's a
yeah.
must.
And there'll be putting competition. So I believe Jack Coney's organizing that. And he runs a great, if you've ever been out to the Toronto Putting League.
Last night.
Oh, nice. Or is there a couple weeks ago? Very fun. So we have him, he's going to volunteer to run that. I believe there'll be some distance or controlled distance type shots. Daryl was talking about if we can get a 500 plus foot controlled distance, preferably downhill type of spot to run that. But yeah, the idea is to make it a bit of a party and an event, as well as, some competition too. So.
I've been going in the pros comments when they're releasing their tour schedules and saying, hey, you should come on up to Canadian championships in between DGLO and GMC. So if some of them take us up on that offer, 500 feet may not be enough distance for a distance competition.
Oh yeah. Well, we have more space than that, but yeah.
AB should up these low bombs at Hoke 1 and parking it at 13 or something. That'd be just wild to see.
Yeah.
So we're pretty excited about this. How about you guys? Are you guys like, this is a lot of work and it's probably stressful as hell to actually do the daunting amount of work needed for this. But like, are you guys excited about hosting nationals? Like, what are you guys most excited about?
I'll go first here, Dan. You're right, and I gotta say I appreciate that that it's a lot of work. I know you guys have run a bunch of small events as well, and up to this point, I've run a bunch of small events as well, always with a lot of help from people who are better at that stuff than I am, like Carl Forbes and so forth. But this is a very different prospect, and it's as I said earlier, although I've done the Canadian National Satellite event, which was not exactly nationals because it was the Ontario version of the satellite thing. So really wasn't the same thing at all. And that went very smoothly, but it was not as cool and as prestigious and as big as this is going to be. I mean, people like to throw numbers around everywhere from 400 to 700. I've heard, I keep track, but the number keeps seemingly nudging upwards, which is kind of exciting. So we'll just say somewhere, conservatively between 400 and 500 people. And a bunch of those people are actually not going to be from Ontario, which is really, really cool. Some may be from the States, East Coast, West Coast. I know people coming from Alberta and so forth. It's going to be really neat. And yes, it's going to be a whole bunch of legwork in the short term. And I know running projects like that, it always feels like the event's still a million years away. And then the next thing you know, I think it'll be upon us. And if we have our ducks in a row, a few things will happen. One is it'll just go really smoothly. I'll just have to be here for a whole week while people play disc golf. And I'll have organized, a dozen volunteers to handle all the stuff. Sean, you know more than anybody about how those mechanics work and how much social capital and organization and, freebies and giveaways are things you have to do to make those wheels turn and have those spotters and have those starters and those parking people and all the things. So once everything's organized, I think it'll feel a lot easier to get excited about it. Right now, it still feels a long ways away. And, a little part of me is nervous because, so far we're running on a whole bunch of promises that, we all hope it's going to work. And not everything that people want to happen happens sometimes. And this is a funny game full of funny people, the four of us included. And, I just hope it's going to go as we say and as we want it to happen. But I am really excited, and I think it's going to be really neat to be a part of something very big like this. And I tend to like to control the stuff that I can control in general. And this is fun. It's outside of that particular comfort zone because there's a bunch of other interests, a bunch of other people running stuff, a bunch of really smart, dedicated tournament directors around us here working on this project. It's just going to be really neat. And, the dust will settle and we'll all be exhausted and we'll sort of hopefully get together for a beer to debrief and say, man, we put that many people through. And surely some people, as I was joking about earlier, will be absolutely appalled that this happened or that didn't happen. And I think the majority are going to be really pleased that we managed to put together a good event. The nice thing is that the disc golf, I believe, will speak for itself. The competition is going to be good. If people are signing up into the right division for them, each division is going to be an exciting competition. The courses are going to be great. We're going to have them in great shape. They're going to be beautiful and challenging, all the things you want them to be. And the part that is now the big question, and I'm excited about this too, even though it's a daunting amount of work, is we've got X number of months to build all the other stuff. We've got to get the players packs to be amazing. We've got to lean on everybody we know to put all these parts together so that there's a ton of added cash so that it's really worth your while to come and play. And even if you're third place, you're going to get a bit of money or whatever, however those payouts work. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm also kind of going, God damn, it's going to be a ton of work in the short term. I got another tournament. The Project 15 Open is running at the end of April, which I'm excited about. Hopefully you guys can all come and play or at least come visit. We got to get Galen out to my course one of these days as well. Shout out Galen. I miss you, man. So yeah, I'll turn it over to Dan, but personally I'm very excited, but it comes with this little feeling of like, man, I got to get my nose to the grindstone. Still a lot of work to do. And honestly, I don't have a lot of control over all this stuff. All we have to do is get our own tournaments, our own courses ready, and then do all this back end organization, which is mostly finding money and giving it to the players so that this is awesome. That's where we're at.
I'm definitely on the same page. I love this stuff. So I've always been involved in sports in some way or another. Probably more on the volleyball side. I've run a few clubs. I've worked with Volleyball BC, Ontario Volleyball, hosted lots of sport championships. I did a small stint as the CEO of Athletics Nova Scotia. Worked with Athletics Canada in some of the strategic planning, even for the 2012 London Olympics. And that would have been many years ago now. But yeah, I live and breathe this stuff. I feel like this type of event is something I just enjoy. It's not work. It is work because you feel exhausted, like Gabe was saying. But when you're doing something that you love, and it doesn't feel like work, I find it just brings me life. So I'm very excited about the championship, and I've been to a few now that I think we can model after. One, the last 2 years in a row, I went to the college disc golf championship. Last year, I think there somewhere between 500 and 700 athletes were at that, and they run a really good show there on multiple courses as well. So I've seen it in person, right? Like I was there for a week both times. And watch how that went. I know Daryl's been involved in those as well. I've seen him down there both times, heavily involved in setting the courses up and just running the event as well. Just excited to try to bring that type of event and energy up here. And I'll definitely be getting lots of video footage and try to get some viral videos going.
I think that between the combination of the amazing courses that are going to be played and the amazing team behind it, I think Canadian Nationals is going to be one to remember in 2025. I certainly cannot wait, and will definitely be making out to both your courses before that to see them either again or unfortunately for the first time. I'm sorry, Dan. But Dan, you actually set up a perfect segue into a question that I wanted to ask you, because this is obviously a disc golf podcast, but people may not know that my first sporting love and the only other sport that I played competitively growing up was volleyball. And yep. I was, well, if you're involved in coaching in Ontario, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Axe Elites out of Orangeville, but played for them for a couple years. And you were a fantastic volleyball player from everything that I have read up. You were named a Canadian Collegiate Athletic Association All-Canadian twice in 96 and 97, BCCAA Player of the Year in 1997. And you just mentioned that you were out on the West Coast, and I assume that was for this. You were just inducted into the Trinity Western University Hall of Fame for your volleyball career. An impressive resume, to say the least. And I could have an entire interview just chatting volleyball with you, I'm sure. But to keep it simple, because we've already had you on here for a while, what position did you play? I got to know. I could have probably figured this out looking at stats a little deeper. Right side? Nice. I was a libero myself. I am the definition of white guy can't jump. So back row was where I belonged. And do you still play, coach, or are involved in volleyball in any way? It sounds like it.
I still coach. So I'm coaching a 15U boys volleyball team at Leaside Volleyball Club in Toronto.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't played in far too long, but the second that I saw, I think somebody shared it in their story or something. Oh, you're getting inducted into TCU, and as soon as I saw it was volleyball, I was like, I got to get a question in here for Dan, and maybe when I either at nationals or some other time when I'm at your course, I'll bring a ball. We can play some pepper.
We have it set up for us, so.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, perfect. Well, then a volleyball match needs to ensue when I come by. Absolutely. I think I still got some setter hands a little bit.
Chris Toe and Alex Paletto out there as well.
Yeah, they're pretty decent.
I'd say so.
Canadian say so. I mean, I haven't played in years, so I don't know if I want to stack the competition that much in my first game back, but well, actually, no, what? No, they'll be on my team. There we go. That's better. That's better. We'll find a 3v3 match. You can get two teammates out there, Dan.
Yeah, just so you're aware, when Chris jumps, his armpits are around the height of the net. Top of the net. Yeah. That guy just jumps out of this gym.
Yeah, I firmly belong in the back row because I can't do even close to that.
I'm 6'4" and I do not jump. But it's weird when you're tall. It's weird being near people who are taller than you. And Chris is definitely like 1 or 2 inches taller than me, and it's deeply uncomfortable.
But the volleyball connection actually goes deep in disc golf. So almost everyone I played with at Trinity Western out in BC played disc golf. As well, when teams would come over to BC and play, like from Alberta or Saskatchewan, their teams would go out and play. At that point, it was Passive Park in BC was kind of the main course. Then they developed Raptors Knoll. But Chris Hartman, if you know him, he is a course designer in BC. He's also a Trinity Western University volleyball alumni.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he actually was on the very first collegiate volleyball team at that university. So we go way back as well. I've known Chris for a long time.
The disc golf and volleyball blend is something I will never get tired of. I remember when I first found out that Chris Toe was a volleyball player, not only just a volleyball player, a very good volleyball player. And then I got to play actually at the P15 Open. I got to play with Chris and certainly spent a couple holes chatting volleyball with him. So I had to sneak in a volleyball question there before we let you guys go.
Cool.
And before we do let you guys go, wanted to give you both an opportunity. The floor is yours. Any shout outs or anything like that you would like to give before we wrap up this awesome interview? Gabe.
You know, I every time I meet you guys, you throw a good question at me and I think, damn, that's a good question. And I perhaps should have prepared for this. You asked me a great question last interview, and I had the same thought. I was like, "That's a brilliant question. I should have seen this coming."
I think we asked you this same question last time. For the record,
I was referring to a different one, but that makes you even more embarrassed. But The only shout out I want to send out is really to say to the people who are considering to come play this thing, thank you, and please come and be a part of this. And we are just human beings who have these sort of weird obsessive projects where we build courses, and now we're being thrown into this sort of organizational role. And I can speak for myself at least. I feel like we need some help. We need help from smart, involved, engaged people like yourselves who run a great podcast, who are an important part of the local disc golf scene, who are kind enough to give us a chance to sort of amplify this message and go a bit deeper. We need help from the people around the province who are maybe pros or who have a real connection to the social media world. It's not that we're trying to sell the tournament to everybody. People are going to make their own decisions about whether or not it's worth their while and their time, and they can get away and all that stuff. But just to sort of raise some buzz and to try to build this into something that we're all a part of and we're all proud of. And again, we need a bit of help. Whether that's, I'm not asking you for more money, but whether it's sponsorship stuff or volunteer time. A lot of the people that we know who are deeply into disc golf are going to be playing in this tournament. I need 12 volunteers to make this go, and I can't pay them. I'll make them t-shirts and some other stuff. But the point is that we are very humbly standing here trying to make this tournament great for you guys, because you guys are our friends and we're part of this community, and this is a great thing to do. So we're not heroes, but my point is that we're not off in some stupid ivory tower doing this for profit or to be cool. We're doing this because somebody's got to do it, and we'd like to be a part of this, and we think it's good for everybody. So please feel like you can be involved, like you can contact us with ideas or feedback or suggestions, or volunteer, help us. So shout out to all the people who might be willing to back us up, you guys included. Huge thank you for giving us a chance to talk to you. And the last thing I want to say is just very tiny amount of tooting my own horn. The Project 15 Open registration opens in less than a month, and that will be at the end of April. And I'd love for everybody to come and join us. This has been a ton of fun over the past basically 3 years, but we've called it the P15 Open for the last 2 years. And we're really lucky to have this sort of first slot in the spring, even though the weather's been a little painful at a few moments, but it's shaping into more and more this feature in the schedule for people. And it's really one of my favorite times of the year. And now I'm going to have another favorite time of the year come September. So anyway, thank you again to you guys. Love it. And always watch your stuff. You guys do wonderful things, and it's an honor to be here. So thank you. And keep up the good work. And thank you, Ontario. So great to be a part of it all.
I would second the piece on needing a little bit of help. And I would say two things. One, if you can help with just spreading awareness of the tournament, that's great. The other one is the feedback. The feedback on how do you want this tournament to run. Even the question about MPO, FPO. Do you want to play 1 course, 2 course, or 3 course? Which courses do you want to play? If you want to send us that information, that would be wonderful. That would help us make a more informed decision. So things like that, if you're thinking about, I'm not sure if I want to sign up for the tournament because I don't know what courses I'm playing on, or is there camping available, or are the pass-through fees too high? We've heard lots about that, so hopefully we've worked through some of that. But any other ideas or things people are thinking about, if they want to pass on that information, we are all ears. Also, shout out to the college disc golf. So Redeemer, Jake Voskamp and his crew, they have a really good group. The girls group is very strong as well. I believe they're top 10 rated in the US right now.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, Trinity Western University as well. They're going to come out pretty strong. Those are the only 2 college teams in Canada right now. But especially Trinity Western's female team. They are very, very strong. They went down and played in Florida, I believe, and one of their athletes came second in the individual. So she's a very strong athlete there. But they had Emporia that was playing there. and Milligan. So those would both be top 10 female teams there as well. So support your college disc golf teams. That's kind of the future. And it's a really fun way to play. Last year, I hosted one tournament where we played college rules. And if you don't know college rules, you play on a team of 4. Your first round, you play singles, and you take all 4 rounds of singles and you add them together, divide by 4. So you have an average score. And then your next 3 rounds, you play alternating best shot doubles. So in your group of 4, you have 2 players that always tee off on the evens and 2 players that always tee off on the odds. And so on the first hole, 2 of your players will tee off. You take the best shot, and then the next 2 players have to do the next shot. It's a really fun. It's so strategic, especially when you get on good courses, and because you have to prepare for the course and go, okay, we want our bombers, backhand bombers on these holes. Yeah, it's a really fun sport to watch and to play. So yeah, shout out to College Disc Golf. And thank you guys for hosting us, and love the surveys, Robbie.
Absolutely. Absolutely our pleasure to have you both on the show. I'm going to be helping out a little bit with nationals, with the volunteer coordination. So I will be hitting up all of our listener to come out and volunteer, and hopefully we can get some good numbers out there. Gabe probably knows Dan. I'm on staff as a volunteer at the MVP Open. This will be my 4th year, and so I've seen how much a good event comes down to the good volunteers that we have, and I know our community will hopefully step up, and I'll be hitting up everyone to help out and be shameless about it. But I mean, thank you guys both so much for joining us tonight and telling us more about the Canadian Championships. We are both excited. I know the whole community is excited, and this is going to be maybe the biggest event in disc golf that Canada has seen, between all of the Canadians that are going to be coming from coast to coast here to play, touring pros that are going to be stopping in between D-Glow and GMC. It's going to be incredible. The level of play will be probably unprecedented in Canadian history. We are so very excited, and thank you both for coming on the show to tell us more about it. When we're able to get a few more details throughout the year, we will have yourselves back on, or Daryl, or the Newcastle crew to tell us more about it. But that's it for now. And we will be right back here on Missed Mando.
Welcome back to Missed Mando. Thank you so much to Gabe and Dan for coming on and joining us for a fantastic interview. Very much looking forward to Canadian Nationals this year. And in the ultimate downgrade, we go from having Gabe and Dan to having Galen back with us. So sorry to our listener for that, but here we go. And we are going to jump into another Missed Mando trivia segment. I've pulled another interesting stat from the lovely folks at Stat Mando that we are going to do. It's going to be very similar format to the way that we did it last time, where you will be picking 5 people each, trying to accumulate the highest sort of score in what we're picking here. And the stat that I was able to find, this is a really unique one. It is the unique players beaten stat. So it's broken down. This is MPO and FPO divisions. It shows the total amount of unique players that a player has beaten at a tournament. It shows the unique amount of people that a player has lost to at a tournament, and then a ratio. So you are going to be going for the highest overall ratio. And I will give you one example, because this guy is ranked number 2, but I don't think you would have guessed him, either of you. And that is Kale LaVisca. Kale LaVisca has beat 5,414 different players. He has lost to 409 different players for a ratio of 13.2. So 13.2 players beaten for every one that's beaten him. And now I gave Kale because I thought that's one that you guys might not have guessed. A lot of the other names on this list are current age players, still active on the Pro Tour that you guys would definitely know. There are still some legends in here, but definitely a lot of current players still on here.
So that's what I was going to ask next is, so it's the average number of unique players beaten to players beaten by over the course of your whole career?
Over your whole career. So there are
I
some.
thought it might be this season, but okay, you're talking about legends? Okay. Now I will get
There are-
It's
Are there any
all
minimum
time.
number?
I don't think Kale beat 5,000 players in one season. That would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I wasn't listening, Robbie. I really do to you, but thank you for reiterating your stupid stat. Sean, that was a good question. You want to say that again?
Are there any minimum numbers? Like if one person came out and beat 400 people in one tournament, and then retired, would that count?
Well, I don't see.
These are all people who've been on tour for like a while.
Most of them have been on tour for a while. There are some lower numbers in terms of the overall players beaten to players lost to. But all of them are, nobody is skewing the overall ratio that hard. Like Kale at number 2, 13.2 is right around the ballpark of the top player. So it's not like somebody has a ratio of like 30 or something. But yeah, so, who won the trivia last time? I believe it was Galen, correct?
Oh, he won by a long shot. So is this also all MPO or is there FPO?
MPO and FPO. There are FPO in here as well.
Okay.
And yeah, take with that information what you will.
It'd be tougher because there's just fewer people on the field to beat.
So it could be something to think of. Or fewer people to beat you if you're somebody that finishes very regularly at the top. But that is all I'm going to say. So Galen, you won last time, which means I'm going to give the honors to Sean to either pick first or make you pick first. Sean will have the choice.
I'll let Galen go first. I'm curious what he goes with.
All right, Galen, you are up first.
Yeah, and I've waffled on this a couple of times in just a few short minutes you've already been talking, because part of me wants to go with somebody that doesn't play, somebody like Kale, who doesn't play like every single stop on tour, but at the stops that they play, whoops people. Yeah, used to. But
I will also note that this only takes into account MPO and FPO. So like Kale's numbers in MP40 wouldn't count towards this. Someone like Brian Schweberger, who has the most wins in PDGA history. A lot of those, I believe, are in Masters divisions. So stuff like that won't impact this. This is
you're actually going to think about picking this out, some pro age-protected dominant players. So that's a good...
It's like Johnny McRae might not, because he's been in Masters for a while.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm gonna lock in a player we were talking about on the last episode for their dominance, just consistent week in, week out. And I'm curious where this name lands. I'm going to take Kristen Tatar first off the board.
Kristen Tatar. Actually, Kristen Ladd.
Sorry, Kristen. Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. She is 9th.
Okay.
So she is 9th on this list. She has a ratio of 9.7. 593 players beaten, 61 lost to. Wow. Only 61 players.
And that's what I was thinking is she doesn't lose to many players and she doesn't lose very often. So
no.
Okay.
Definitely not.
You said Kale was second in a ratio of about 13 or so to 1, give or take.
13.2 was Kale's ratio, and he is in second. And I will say that number 1 is right around that number as well.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the guy who I believe has beaten more individual people than anybody else, which is Paul Ulibarri.
Paul Ulibarri. I love it. This is going to take a little bit of searching.
Okay.
No, Yules is down. I can't check this entirely, but I would guess. I'll let you hear more. 5, 26, 27, 28, 29, exactly 30th.
Oh, okay. I guess he's lost too many times.
But exactly 30th.
And what's his ratio?
With a ratio of 6.89. Interest 6,490 players beaten, 941 players lost to. And I can actually, once I write this down, I think I can actually check. You were correct. In this stat, at least, Paul Ulibarri has beaten the most individual number of unique players.
Yeah.
But there is somebody on this list that's, right up there at the top of that as well, but has lost to significantly less people. We're going for overall ratio, obviously, not total amount of wins. Otherwise, that
How
definitely
many rounds are we doing? 3 rounds?
that's a huge pick. We're going to do 5.
5. Jeez.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to me there, Robbie.
Yes,
It's kinda
sir.
tough to do snake style with 2 people, but
Yeah, no, it'll be, it'll be just back and forth.
okay. I don't know if this is going to be a really good pick or a really bad pick. Obviously, this player is certainly not anywhere near the conversation of really bad. I'm going to go for arguably the GOAT, Ken Climo.
Ken Climo, I like it. And when I did mention that there are some legends on here, Kenny is definitely one of the highest. I would actually say the highest, unless you consider Kale in that sort of legends category. But Ken Climo is 6th on this list. 4,143 players beaten, 378 lost to, for a ratio of 10.96. Which is the highest of the 3 picked so far.
I'll go with the other GOAT, Paul Macbeth.
Paul Macbeth is number 1 in this category. 5,954 players beaten, so just about, I think, 400 shy of Ulibarri, but only 444 players lost to, for a ratio of 13.4. 13.4 players beaten per player lost to.
Wow.
Absolutely wild.
That is insane. The only thing that was holding me back is I did think about Paul too, actually, for my first off the board, was just like, obviously he is still one of the best players in the world, but there are just so many incredible players right now that I wondered if he might have lost to a wide enough swath of new, just crazy kids and consistent pros to sort of bump him down a little bit. But
I just think
yeah,
back
I
to
trusted my
like
gut.
his,
Great pick, Sean.
Thank you. I think back to like his legendary, like the 2015 year and things like that.
2015.
And he was doing hundreds of guys every single week for the entire season. Like,
Yeah, and when he would lose to one person because he would finish in second.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's actually a good point. I wish that I could see sort of like a graph over time of Macbeth's ratio and what it got to at its peak. Because now, obviously, with more influx of all these new players coming in that have gotten really good, his players lost to total is definitely going up every single year. So I wonder what it was at that peak, like in 2015 or up to 2019. So he had a really unreal year in 2019 too. I wonder how high that got to. Would definitely be interesting. But Galen, it's over to you for your pick again.
I'm gonna stay the course with picking some legends here. Again, not sure how this is gonna play for this stat. I'm gonna go Elaine King next off the board.
Elaine King. This might take. I don't know if I can just scroll and find her. I can't, but I do believe I can.
King is just not having as many players to beat.
But my thought is the number of
Ratio
players that would have
solid.
beat her would be so small.
It is a little surprising. Elaine, I'm not sure where exactly this would put her in the overall list, but I can search individually to find them. Elaine King, 650 players beaten, 150 players lost to, for a ratio of 4.33. So actually the lowest ratio that we've had so far, which is definitely surprising to me. If we took just into account her Ontario stats, it's like a ratio of like 25 probably.
Okay, so this is my last. Oh, so this is my third pick. I'll go Ricky Wysocki. He's been in battles with Paul. He's been up there, near the top of the rankings. He has to have beaten a hell of a lot of people. And
He is going to go next off the board for me. He was going to be next. I don't know where he's going to fall, but I love that pick.
Ricky Wysocki is number 4 overall in this stat, the second highest ratio that we have picked so far. And since I gave you Kale, there's actually only one player with a higher ratio still left untaken. Ricky has beaten 5,382 players, lost to 454 for a ratio of 11.85. Pretty darn solid. And there's still some in the 10 range, or another 11, and then like I said, one that's still higher in the 13 range. And I actually don't know if you guys are going to get them.
Well, there should still be some really good ones on the board because you gave
There definitely are.
Yeah, you gave us a couple of notable ones, but like 3, 5, I want to say 7 is still up there. I don't know if they're like well-known names, but there are still some high choices there.
3, 5, 7, all available.
Yeah, I'm going to stay my course here. Like for better or for worse, I'm going to go with the same trajectory I've been charting here. I'm going to take Paige Pierce.
Paige Pierce.
Anytime you've got to go Control F, it's not good for me though. Because he's not.
there's Paige right there in
5th place.
No, Paige is actually one spot ahead of Paul Ulibarri. So what did I say? Yuli was 30th when I counted today?
Yeah, 30th.
So Paige would be 29th then. 760 players beaten, 110 players lost to, for an average of 6.90.
Huh. Unexpected.
Yeah. Yeah. One of you pointed this out, I think at the start, that, just FPO fields, especially when you think of older FPO players, they played against some very small fields.
Yeah.
So just weren't able to and probably played against a lot of the same people over and over again. So there wasn't new people to come in and beat. So I think that definitely hurts their numbers a little bit. Cause Paige, that's definitely shocking.
Again, and if they played little C tiers or B tiers for fun, they'd probably be in 2 people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with the current roster. I'll go Gannon Burr. I figure his ratio's got to be good.
Gannon Burr is a great pick. He is 5th on this stat,
All right.
which is insane with how young he is. He's only 19 years old. He is
not about the raw numbers. It's about the ratio.
Exactly.
He does not finish low in big fields.
1,801 players beaten, only 162 players lost to.
Nice.
For a ratio of 11.11.
Sweet.
11.11. This is turning into a runaway. You're gonna need to pick that last remaining highest player here, Galen.
Even if I do, well, actually, how are we charting this? Is it the ratios of all of our players combined? I still would have a massive deficit to make up. Yeah. Yep. Probably box there anyway. But I guess if I have a great pick and Sean has a completely terrible one, still an opportunity. So
you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've been weighing the different factors and obviously coming up with not as good of answers as Sean. But like part of me is wondering about longevity and how that might help here. If a player has been playing for like 20 years, they've just seen a lot more players. If a player's cashed a lot, podiumed a lot, that's got to be great for them. But also,
I will give you a because you are so far behind right now, I will give you a slight little lifeline and tell you that this is not a legend player. This is a great player who could, have a legendary career in total, but this is somebody that is in the field right now, still competing, and I would say has really come into the well-known stratosphere in the sort of disc golf pro tour era in the last 10 years.
That's a tantalizing tip. Trying to think of who fits that bill. Give myself a chance. Last 10 or so years. I want somebody that ideally is a consistently high finisher, that will have played a wide enough variety of tournaments to have faced a large number of opponents.
And the only other, I'll say one other thing, and because I don't want to make this too easy and let you get away here. But this player was known, I don't know if they still are, but was known for having a ridiculous win percentage for a while.
Yeah, I haven't been following disc golf for long enough. I don't think I'm nerdy enough that would give me a hint. So let's hold it there. We don't want to give too much away for me, but I appreciate that you're trying to drop some nugs here, not to let Sean run away with it. Ah, man, I'm really jammed up on this last one. It feels like it's very high stakes. I don't want to mess this one up.
John, you're muted.
Not a legend. I've had a couple names that I thought about saying, but if we're going not a legend, it takes both of them off the table. So I'm not going to say Nate Sexton, who has played forever and who has played a ton of different players. I'm not going to say Owen Scoggins, who is a consistent and proven winner, who's also played for a long time, would have played a lot of different opponents, but obviously she's been around. So she wouldn't be in that sort of has just come into the forefront conversation. I am going to go with Calvin Heimberg as my last pick.
Calvin Heimberg is a fantastic pick, not the one that you were looking for, but is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th. 8th on this list, so still a great pick. 3,240 players beaten, 325 players beaten by, for a ratio of 9.96.
That was going to be my pick, and I think that's a solid pick.
There is still one out there. Number 3 on this list is still on the board. There are 3 people that had a ratio in the 13s, and this is one of them. We know the other 2, Paul and Cale. This one's slightly below in 3rd place, but still in the 13s.
Currently on tour?
Currently on tour.
I'll go Chris Dickerson.
Why have he nailed it? He nailed it. Oh my goodness, this is going to be insanely high ratio here for Shawnee G. Yeah, Chris Dickerson,
the king of consistency. Yep, just been so good for so long.
3,078 players beaten, only 235 players lost to, for a ratio of 13.09.
And no wins.
Well, I mean, he's a 2-time major champion, and when I was
that doesn't count. Dang.
When I was alluding to for a while, he had over 50% win percentage in his PDGA career. Not on the Pro Tour, of course. When he started to play Pro Tour more, that started to dip down a little bit. But in Tennessee, he is
the only 10 I see. Tip for thumb, Robbie. I was going to say, I'll let you finish your thought first, but maybe run us through the top 10. We got most of them, but anybody, maybe even the top 15, just for some notable names that are up there once you finish that thought.
Absolutely, I can. I was just going to say, you guys talk a little bit here so I can quickly do some math.
So I had 1, 3, and 4. Is that
Yeah, it's all you, Sean. You got it crushed. I think I might have had 3 in the top 10, but you've got it so set up where it's not even going to be close.
You had 1, 3, 4, and 5. The only player in the top 5 that you
Is the one
didn't get was Kale, the one I gave.
And there is no chance I would have guessed Kale LaVisca. That was a really good C-square because
I
there's
think I would have had a thought in the back of my head and gone, nah, that's stupid. I'm not saying that because there have been about 25 names where I've gone, hey, what about Jeremy Coling? Hey, what about,
I was intrigued by your Nate Sexton, but I think that he's just in recent years he's gotten too far down.
That's my thought too, where enough unique players would have passed him the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit more. But like, I'm just thinking like that cash record that he had, I was like, he's just consistently beating players and he's playing a wide enough variety of events that he's beating a lot of players.
Nate Sexton is actually 7th on this list.
7.
Oh, okay.
It would have been a solid pick.
Would have been enough higher than, because Heimberg, you saw
Calvin. Higher than Calvin by 1. Yeah. He has a ratio of 10.07. So basically right on that 10 marker. And in case it was any shocker to anybody, Sean won this. Sean had an average of 11.26 across his 5, which on its own would rank 5th in just this list, which is wild. And Galen comes in at 8.37, still very respectable. But that surprise Elaine King one really dropped you down. But even without that, Sean having 4 of the top 5 makes it a little hard to overcome. So the entire top 10 was Macbeth, Kale, Chris Dickerson, Ricky Wysocki, Gannon Burr, Ken Climo, Nate Sexton, Calvin Heimberg, Kristen Latt, Simon Lizotte.
Really?
Simon Lizotte. And then going down just a little bit further, Val Jenkins, Nico LaCastro, Katrina Allen, Nate Doss, Barry Schultz, just a little murderer's row of legends there for a little bit. And then this one surprises me. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16th, Chris Clemens.
Really?
Chris Clemens, 3,000.
Surprised about that.
A ratio of 8.1.
Hell yeah, Chris Lemons, let's go.
Lemonade. And then there's Kevin Jones, Garrett Gerthy, Big Germ, Joel Freeman, Nicholas Antala, Andrew Marweed, Eric McCabe, Joseph Anderson is on here.
Is in there.
Yep. He's got one of the lowest totals of players beat, but also his players lost to is so low because he's only been playing for like 3 years.
I want to know where Chris O'Zollins is.
I don't think he's on this list.
Is it
go out there and take a stab?
Is this set at a specific caliber of tournament? Because if it's any PDGA sanctioned event, then you're playing in Ontario. Chris O'Zollins is winning most events, and he's playing a lot of different players as he travels.
Yeah, I don't know what this would take into account, but this one's interesting. I don't know exactly where she's ranking on this list, but friend of the show, Chantel Badinsky. 316 players beaten, 117 lost to, for a ratio of 2.7.
Solid.
Not bad at all.
Absolutely.
Where does Sean Galbraith rank in MA3? Is it like 700 people beating him and one he has beaten for a ratio of 0.
Only we could find the stats for you, Sean. If only we could find the stats. There's a lot on here. I'm trying to see quickly if I can just see who has the highest ratio with the fewest. Yeah, all the names on here that are like below 1,000 players beaten are all because they're in the FPO division. Makes the MPO divisions are like 5,000. Chris Dickerson's actually only 3,000, while a lot of the other ones are 5,000. Gannon's only 1,801. Yeah, and then a lot. Except Castro in the 6,000s. It's actually I'm just going to do a quick little test for both of you. Who do you think is the top 5 in total players beaten? You already know number 1.
Yeah, and this would only be
And this is like just
I will give you a hint and say this is all MPO because it's just most individual players beaten.
okay. I'll throw Nate Sexton out there.
Nate Sexton is not that high up. He's like sitting around that like 20th, 4,483.
I mean, I'm still going to go Paul Macbeth.
Macbeth is 4th.
Yeah.
5,954.
you got to put Ricky in there as well.
Yeah, Ricky.
Yuli's obviously number 1. Ricky is more around, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th. 5,382. There are 3 players with 6,000 plus. Paul Ulibarri is one of them.
I feel like you might have said one or two of them when we were talking earlier, man.
I just said that recently. Nico LaCastro is number 2, 6,123. And there's can you try and guess the last remaining 6,000 plus player? I will give you a hint and say this is more of a legend. Not really. Actually, I think he still tours, but he's up there in age and isn't really like on coverage or anything. And there's one more hint that I'll give if you still can't get it.
Does he play Masters now that you know of?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I think he still plays MPO. I'm just pulling up his player profile. 22 MPO events in 2024.
Luke Humphreys?
Not Luke Humphreys. I don't know if Luke would have been around long enough.
Yeah, he might not have.
This is this is a player that has been around a long time.
I'm drawing a total blank right now.
And he signs his name with a little one time at the end of it. A one-time world champion.
A one-time world champ, eh?
A world champion that both of you should remember. A little before your intro to disc golf, but close enough to your intro that I know you would have known about this. And he won championships. No.
Okay.
I'm just going to give hints until it finally clicks in. He won his world championship at the same course that Galen went and spectated a world championship at. Not the same event, but the same course. Who won it the last time that it was there? On FPO, the winner that year was Paige Bierkes. Now Paige Shue. The winner is, I believe he's from Texas, is basically the doppelganger of Dave Grohl.
Greg Barsby.
Greg Barsby.
Yeah.
I was wondering how many views we would have to drop till we got there. Son, thank you for putting us out of our misery there, but
Mugs at Smugs. He won Worlds in 2018 at Smuggler's Notch Resort. And 6,066 players beaten. 1,235 players lost to, though. By far the highest amount in like just sorting by people with the highest players beaten. He also has the highest players lost to. So his average is only 4.9. But 6,066 players beaten. That's crazy. So, yeah.
Bananas.
Anyways,
That
another
was
fun
great.
little
Yeah,
stat.
thank you.
Shout out to Stat Mando for these lovely stats. And I already have one pulled up for the next time that we do this. That is another really interesting stat that I'd never even heard of before. So that'll be interesting. Congrats, Shawnee G, with your 11.26 average amongst your 5. That is quite impressive. There's your trophy.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And I believe, Shawnee G, you've got a little bit of a podium pick sort of thing that you want to run us through.
I do. So we're going to do this podium pick segment a little bit different. We're going to have 3 rounds, and the 2 of you are going to be the only ones that are picking. I am not going to pick. It is a somewhat blind pick. So let's say, Robbie, you go first. I'm going to give you your first choice. You can either take that choice or you can pass and you can hear what the second one is. But you can't go backwards.
Gotcha.
You can either take the second one or you can accept the third one, which you will not know what it is.
Gotcha. All right.
And then Galen will pick from the remainder, and then I get whichever one is left over.
It's like a version of the blind ranking challenges that you see on social media.
Exactly. 3 rounds of this.
Sorry if I just spaced there for a second. There are going to be 3 choices that are presented to us at the start. Is that how it's going to work?
We're going to present one at a time.
Okay, got it.
Yep. So, the topic is disc golf superpowers.
All right, let's go.
And so, round 1, Galen, you will go first. So, you would get 100% C1X and 5% C12, guaranteed. Do you want that, or do you want to pass and go on to and take your chance at the second option?
Would you mean to say C12 or just C2?
Oh, no, 100% C1X and 5% C2.
Okay,
That's your
you
putting
said you said C12, and I was like, is that a new stat? Like, what the heck is that?
100% C1X, 5% C2.
For what it's worth, I was perceiving it as C2, so if there was a stat about C12 that I didn't know about, I would have just sewered myself.
Like, what is this?
I am going to pass on that stat,
Okay, so
on that superpower.
on that superpower. So, would you like 30% C1X and 80% C2?
Now I'm curious if these are all...
This is the putting bracket.
this is
Round 1 is
Right.
putting bracket.
Okay. 30% C1X and 80% C2.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go back to the first one, so you either got to lock it in there or wait to see what
This is
the
where
third one is.
this is what people are going to be voting on.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to lock this in because I think a lot of the players that play disc golf at a similar level to us are not always in C1 in regulation.
They're
Often in C2 in regulation, and
C2 is huge.
canning 80% of C2 putts is big. So I'm going to take that disc golf superpower, lock it in, final answer.
Locked it in. Robbie, would you like 100% C1X and 5% C2?
I am intrigued to see what the third one is, but I will lock in that stat. I'll take 100% C1X. That would be, incredible. Think about how fun that would be.
That would be incredible. So I have locked
So much fun.
I've locked in for me 60% C1X and 40% C2.
Okay.
Pretty solid.
That is pretty solid.
Pretty
Yeah,
balanced.
it's like heavily one side, heavily the other, and
Best in the middle.
balanced, as all things should be.
All right. Bobby, then you get to pick first in round 2.
All right.
This is the driving category.
Yeah.
So, 350 foot with perfect accuracy. You land exactly where you want to.
All right.
Do you want it? Or do you want to pass and go to the second one?
You know what? I'll take it. I'll lock it in. Let's go for it.
Robbie's locking
Let's go for it. Give me 350 plus. I can like understand what that is because that's basically me minus the perfect accuracy part. But the distance part, that's right in my ballpark. And if I combined that with 100% C1X putting, I'd be pretty happy. So I'll lock it in.
Galen, would you like 450 foot medium accuracy? It's pretty good. Like, it's not, you're in the ballpark of where you want it to be. You may not hit your landing zone every time, but you're way down there.
Do we have a percentage assigned to medium? I think Robbie had 100% at 350. We want to.
He had perfect accuracy, I'll give you
was the term.
medium accuracy.
Okay.
So let's say, I don't know, let's say 50% of the time.
Yeah. I am going to pass on that option.
Yes. So you now have 600-foot distance with low accuracy.
Let's go. It's exactly like me, except not that far. Yeah, 350 feet with low accuracy. Let's go.
All right, let's do 60% of the time. It works every time.
Okay. Round 3. This is random superpowers. Not throwing related, but disc golf related. So, who's going to go first on this one? Galen or Robbie? Who do you wants to go? You're going to go Galen.
Pick a number and we'll say it.
No, I don't want to think. Galen, you're going. Galen, would you like OB or hazard never incurs a penalty?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I don't care what the other ones are. I'll take that one.
You see, you're locking in.
That combined with your 600 feet of power with little accuracy is like a cheat code.
I can throw 600 feet. My disc is always in the right, and I can always hit from, well, not always. I can hit 80% from C2. You can't be.
Damn.
So, this is really solid choices. Robbie, would you like 3 strokes off on every round?
I'm intrigued what the last one is. I'll pass.
You got 5 mulligans for every round.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. I don't know how many I'll need with my perfect accuracy and 100% putting, but
and your as long as your approaches are really good.
Yeah. I mean, if what was my C2 percentage? Was like 5%.
It's trash.
Hey, that's like in real life. Like, you can throw half as far as me. Congratulations, buddy. Good for you.
So, in summary, Galen has 30% C1X and 80% C2. So like really good distance putting. Galen has incredible distance that is going who knows where, wildly throwing down the fairway. But
it's never OB.
But it's never OB or a hazard penalty stroke. So
that's a cheat code.
It's pretty fun. He's going to be so much fun to watch on the course. Robbie has 100% C1X and 5% C2 putting. He's got 350 feet of dead center perfect accuracy every time, and he gets 5 mulligans every round. And then
yikes.
Yeah. Those are for use when you land in C2, I guess.
Yeah, I'm like, that's basically the only opportunity I'm gonna have to get use those mulligans. All my drives are perfect, and all my C1X putts are perfect.
Yep. And then I'm coming in to throw 350. Like, who cares? That's not.
We don't know what my scramble game. There's nothing said about my scramble game.
That was true.
Just my drives are very accurate.
My scrambles is very good. He's landing in the bushes every time.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
And then Sean, it comes in with 60% C1X and 40% C2. I get 450 feet of distance with medium accuracy, and I get 3 strokes off every round. So we're going to put those up on our usual channels and see what people think. Who has the best disc golf superpowers?
Which player would win? That's actually really interesting how it all shook out. My player would essentially just never, even on holes that exceed my 350 feet of power, like, getting into the 400, 500 foot holes, then as long as my upshots are good, then I'm going to make every single putt, and I'll just take a bunch of pars on those holes, and 350 shorter, bullseye every single time.
Yeah, and who wants to do that? 350 plus foot holes, you're taking a par? It's not very impressive.
400 foot par 3 and just knowing that you can't even get there at all.
Yeah,
and my C2 putting is garbage. So even if I come up just a little short, it's only going in 5% of the time, which, I mean, is pretty accurate to real life.
Robbie, you're basically playing for par.
Yeah. on long holes. Short holes, I'm crushing.
Yep. So that is it for the podium picks for episode 25. 25, guys. Can you imagine?
25.
24% of Miss Mando. What an amazing show we've had tonight. Thank you very much, Galen. Thank you very much, Robbie. Thank you to Dan and Gabe again. We're so excited about the Canadian Championships. Always seen Paige Pierce is signed up to come up to play.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get some more pros up. This should be a lot of fun. Registration opens February 2nd. First week is only for Canadians before it opens up wide to everybody else on February 9th. So be sure to hit Disc Golf Scene and get your registration in. And let me know if you're available to volunteer, because I'm going to be helping out with that. We're going to need a lot of help. It's going to be a fantastic tournament. So we're going to sign off on behalf of my wonderful co-host, Robbie, and my second best co-host, Galen. Thank you all for listening again, and we will see you out there on the course.